Have you ever stared at a puzzle, completely convinced that a piece is missing, only to realize you were holding it the entire time? That's exactly how it feels when you first encounter the Moses illusion. A psychological trick where the biggest, most devastating lies are hidden right in plain sight. You just couldn't see them. It starts so quietly. You sit across from someone you love, listening to a story that sounds entirely normal. The details match up. The tone is perfectly calm. Your brain relaxes, accepting the narrative because the rhythm feels safe. But deep down, something invisible is violently tearing at your intuition. You ignore it anyway. You ignore it because we are wired to trust the people who claim to love us. We don't expect the person sharing our bed to be running a highly sophisticated psychological operation. We look for the good. But a narcissist doesn't operate on goodness. They operate on control. And the greatest form of control is hacking your reality. Think about how cognitive psychology explains the Moses illusion. If someone asks how many animals Moses took on the ark, most people confidently say 2. They completely miss the glaring fact that it was Noah, not Moses. But because the context feels right, the biblical wrapping makes the brain bypass the fundamental lie inside. Now, apply that same cognitive glitch to your relationship with a toxic person. They don't just tell you a random, obvious lie. That would be too easy to catch. Instead, they take a massive deception and carefully wrap it in a thick blanket of undeniable truths. They give you just enough familiar context to make you drop your guard. It's an incredibly violating experience once you finally wake up to it. You look back at conversations that happened months or even years ago, and suddenly the truth hits you like a physical blow. The lie was right there. It was staring you in the face. But they presented it with such supreme confidence that your brain just skipped it. That confidence is their ultimate weapon. When a narcissist speaks a lie, they don't stutter. They don't look away. They look dead into your eyes with the conviction of a saint. They are relying on your natural human decency. They know you will doubt your own sanity before you ever suspect them of being capable of such a dark deception. And so, you start losing your mind in slow motion. You question your memory. You ask yourself if you're just being paranoid. You apologize for bringing things up. That is exactly where they want you. Trapped in a maze of your own self-doubt, while they stand comfortably on the outside, holding the map. It is a slow, silent erosion. But why do they do this? Why go through the exhausting effort of constantly maintaining an illusion? Because without the illusion, they are nothing. The false self they present to the world is incredibly fragile. If you see the truth, if you spot the real person behind the mask, their entire psychological structure threatens to collapse. So they blind you with context. They overwhelm you with details that don't matter, just to distract you from the one detail that changes absolutely everything. You aren't crazy. You aren't stupid for missing it. You were just dealing with a master illusionist. But illusions only work when you don't know the secret behind the trick. Let's break down exactly how they build this trap. The Moses illusion in a toxic relationship is heavily dependent on a concept called semantic blending. They mix words of love, commitment, and future faking with their actual toxic behavior. They say they want a peaceful life, while simultaneously burning your nervous system to the ground. You hear the words, and your brain processes the intent as good. They love me. They want peace. Because of that assumed context, you miss the glaring error. Their actions are completely destroying you. Your mind bridges the gap, making excuses for them. You tell yourself they are just stressed, or didn't mean it the way it sounded. This is how the narcissist hides their double life. They will mention someone's name in passing, completely casually, wrapping the person in a boring story about work. The context is so mundane, so remarkably dull, that your brain flags it as safe. You have no idea that this seemingly boring coworker is actually their newest supply source. If they acted suspicious, you would notice immediately. But they weaponize boredom. They weaponize the ordinary. They give you 80% truth, the location, the time, the people involved, but they alter the critical 20%. The lie slides right past your defenses because it is coated in a heavy layer of verified, absolute fact. You have to understand that this is not an accident. They have spent a lifetime studying human reactions. They know exactly how much truth is required to sell a lie. It is a calculated formula. They feed you reality, piece by piece, until your guard is entirely down. And then, right in the middle of a sentence, they slip in the poison. Think about the cognitive dissonance this creates in your body. Your logical brain is saying, everything adds up. The story makes sense. But your gut, that ancient primal alarm system, is screaming that you are in profound danger. This is why you feel constantly exhausted around them. Your mind and your body are fighting a silent war. They notice your confusion, and they thrive on it. When you start asking questions, they don't immediately get angry. That would ruin the illusion. Instead, they play the victim of your unfair suspicion. They look at you with manufactured pity, as if they are deeply concerned about your mental health. It's a masterclass in manipulation. Why are you always looking for a problem? They ask. Everything was fine until you started overthinking. They shift the spotlight from their behavior directly onto your reaction. Suddenly, you are the one on trial. You are the one defending your sanity. The original lie is completely forgotten, buried beneath a mountain of your own guilt. You end up apologizing for catching them. Just pause and let the profound sickness of that reality sink in. You say you are sorry for having instincts. You shrink yourself down, promising to be more trusting, while they graciously accept an apology they never deserved. The illusion holds firm. The false reality remains completely intact. But the human mind can only suppress the truth for so long. Eventually, the cracks in the narrative become too large to ignore. You start noticing the timeline discrepancies. You start hearing the tiny shifts in their tone. The Moses illusion begins to fade, not because they changed their strategy, but because your eyes finally adjusted. There is always a turning point. A specific, unforgettable moment where the spell breaks. Maybe it is a text message you weren't supposed to see. Maybe it's a story contradicting something they said months ago. Suddenly, the ark isn't commanded by Noah anymore. You see Moses. The glaring, horrifying error is finally fully visible to you. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. It is a terrifying awakening. You look back at the entire history of the relationship, and the illusions fall away like dominoes. Every argument, every sweet moment, every confusing conversation is instantly recontextualized. You realize you haven't been participating in a relationship. It was a play. You feel a sickening drop in your stomach. The person you loved never actually existed. They were a carefully constructed character, designed specifically to mirror your deepest desires and exploit your greatest vulnerabilities. The betrayal is so absolute that it feels like the oxygen has been violently sucked right out of the damn room. When you confront them, the dynamic shifts instantly. The calm, reassuring illusionist vanishes. In their place is something cold, cornered, and incredibly dangerous. Because you have just done the one thing a narcissist cannot tolerate. You have pierced the false self. You are looking at the shame they have spent their whole life outrunning. Their first tactic is sheer, terrifying denial. They will look at undeniable proof, a screenshot, a bank statement, a direct quote, and tell you it isn't real. They employ the Moses illusion on steroids. They try to convince you that the sky is red, relying on the sheer force of their unwavering conviction to override your basic perception. When denial fails, they pivot to narcissistic rage. It isn't just anger, it is a calculated performance of indignation designed to terrify you into submission. They project their guilt onto you, accusing you of the very things they are guilty of doing. They try to overwhelm your nervous system so you will drop the issue just to find peace. If you stay calm and refuse to engage in the chaos, they switch tactics again. Word salad. They will throw so many unrelated topics, past grievances, and arguments into the conversation that you literally forget what you were arguing about. They rebuild the illusion through sheer linguistic exhaustion. Your brain simply shuts down from stress. But this time, it doesn't work. Because you finally know the trick. You watch them spin their web of words, but you are no longer stepping into it. You observe them clinically, like a scientist watching a predictable experiment. You see the panic in their eyes as they realize their control over your reality is rapidly slipping away forever. They will try everything to pull you back under. The tears. The promises of therapy. The sudden, desperate declarations of profound love. But it sounds hollow now. It sounds like a script. You can hear the mechanics behind the words. The emotional resonance is completely gone. You are staring at the man behind the curtain, and he is small. This is the moment the trauma bond begins to snap. It doesn't happen instantly, and it hurts like hell, but the foundation is broken. They can no longer hide their lies in plain sight because you have stopped assuming they have good intentions. You have stopped filling in the blanks. You are finally reading the dark story exactly as it is. The collapse of the illusion leaves behind a devastating quiet. When you walk away, or they discard you because your clarity makes you useless to them, the silence is deafening. You sit in the rubble of a reality that was entirely manufactured. The grief is complicated. You are not just mourning a lost person. You are mourning your stolen time. You have to mourn the years you spent believing in a mirage. You have to process the deeply disturbing fact that someone could look you in the eyes, hold your hand, and lie with absolutely zero physiological response. It forces you to question your fundamental understanding of humanity. How can emptiness wear such a convincing, beautiful mask? For a while, you will feel paranoid. The Moses illusion has trained your brain to expect hidden threats in every single interaction. You will second-guess the motives of the healthy people around you. When someone is kind, you will brace yourself for the hidden catch. Your nervous system is stuck in survival mode, waiting for the next trap. Give yourself immense grace during this phase. Your hypervigilance is not a character flaw, it is a profound psychological injury. Your brain is desperately trying to protect you from experiencing that invisible deception again. You are scanning the horizon for Noah, terrified that Moses is secretly steering your ship straight toward the rocks. The narcissist, meanwhile, has already moved on. They found a new target. They run the exact same script, building the same illusions. They hide lies in plain sight for an audience who hasn't yet learned to see the trick. It feels violently unfair. It feels like they completely got away with murder, while you are left behind to serve the time. But look closer. They haven't won anything. They are condemned to a lifetime of exhausting, endless performance. They have no core identity, no genuine peace, and absolutely no capacity for authentic connection. They are a ghost haunting their own life, endlessly shifting shapes just to avoid the unbearable agony of their own hollow reflection. You, on the other hand, are grounded in reality. The truth hurts, but the truth is solid. You can build a life on the truth. The pain you are feeling right now is the pain of the illusion leaving your body. It is the sting of a deep wound finally being exposed to the air so it can heal. The deception is over. You are finally living in reality. As the fog clears, you will start to recognize the specific patterns they used. You will understand how they used your empathy as a weapon against you. You will see how they wrapped their betrayals in stories of their own victimization. Every realization builds your armor. You are no longer an easy target. You are becoming dangerously aware. They thought they broke you. They thought that by shattering your reality, they would leave you helpless and dependent. But all they did was burn away your naivety. They forced you to develop a psychological radar so sharp, so accurate, that no toxic person will ever be able to pull the Moses illusion on you again. You can now see in the dark. You are learning to trust the one thing they desperately tried to destroy, your intuition. When something feels slightly off, you no longer make excuses for it. You do not wait for the illusion to fully form. You recognize the subtle manipulation immediately, and you step back. You have reclaimed the narrative. The director has finally been fired. The final stage of this journey is not just survival. It is profound, unshakable empowerment. You transition from being a victim of an illusionist to becoming a master of your own reality. You no longer fear the smoke and mirrors, because you know exactly how the stage is built. You know where the trapdoors are. You finally hold all the power. Think about the strength it takes to pull yourself out of a fabricated world. It requires a courage the narcissist will never possess. They run from the truth every single day. But you faced the most terrifying reality imaginable, and you survived it. You looked directly into the darkest, coldest void, and you bravely walked right back out alive. Your empathy is no longer a vulnerability. It has become a highly calibrated instrument. It connects you to the beauty of the world, but it is now guarded by iron boundaries. You offer your compassion selectively, only to those who have proven they operate in reality. You no longer give your heart to ghosts who are pretending to be human beings. If you are struggling right now, if you are trying to sort truth from lies, just breathe. The cognitive dissonance will fade. Your brain is remarkable, and it is rewiring itself for truth. The confusion you feel is just the friction of the illusion breaking apart. Let it break. It has to shatter completely. It is breaking apart so it can save you. Never forget that the narcissist needs you far more than you ever needed them. They need your reactions to validate their existence. They need your belief in their illusions to feel real. You are the battery powering their fake universe. Without you, the lights go out. The performance ends. The cold, empty auditorium is all that remains for them. You are taking your power back every single time you choose reality over comfort. Every time you refuse to argue with a hallucination, you win. Every time you ignore their bait and stay firmly rooted in the undeniable facts, you starve their false self. You are no longer a participant in their psychological game. You have walked off the stage. There is a peaceful life waiting on the other side of this realization. A life where words actually mean what they are supposed to mean. A life where apologies bring changed behavior, not just a repositioning of lies. You are moving toward a new reality where true love doesn't require a constant, agonizing state of psychological hyperalertness. Forgive yourself for not seeing the Moses illusion sooner. You looked at the world through the lens of a healthy, honest person. You assumed the one you loved spoke the same language. You didn't know they used your trust to hide emotional terrorism in plain sight. It was never about your blindness. It was always about your inherent, pure goodness. And that goodness survived. They threw everything they had at it. They tried to confuse it, manipulate it, and completely dismantle it, but your core remains intact. The illusion is dead, but you are very much alive. You are walking out of the fog with eyes wide open. You know exactly what you are dealing with now, and you will never unsee it. The next time they try to spin a lie disguised as reality, it won't even trigger you. You will just look at them, see the pathetic mechanics of the trick, and realize how small they truly are. The curtain has fallen. The spell is completely broken. You survived the illusion, and you finally know the absolute truth. You are finally, forever free.